What is up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerdcast for the next episode of Weekly Indie Newcomer. This week, we're taking a look at the Age of Decadence, which released this week after a long development cycle. This game has been worked on for a really long time, and I've had it in my Steam inventory for a couple of years. Every now and again, I check back in on it, and I just kind of like feel out the course and see if it's something that I enjoyed. And so I've spent the entire weekend playing the game, and I wanted to give you guys my impressions of what I've seen so far as I've spent time with the game. For those of you that may not have heard of it, the Age of Decadence is like an ultra-hard RPG. That's all that it is. It's a CRPG that is stupidly difficult, like really hard, but not in the sense that the game's difficulty curve is that hard, but in the sense that this is one of the few CRPGs I've ever seen that forces you to roleplay. And so, for example, in this game, if you choose to make a character who's a diplomat, you're not going to be running around fighting people with knives and jump kicking people and stuff like that. You're going to want to solve issues with your mouth as much as possible, and I mean that to be as giggity as possible. No, you're going to want to dictate your way through problems. Man, that wasn't any better, is it? Well, either way, you're going to want to talk out your problems. If you play an assassin, you're going to want to attack people from the shadows and not get into a main fight. If you're a warrior, then you're probably going to solve most of your problems by punching, but it's not going to end up well for you because live by the sword, die by the sword. And so in Age of Decadence, it's really a CRPG where you can fight in every situation, but it's up to you to make the call because the game is based on realism. And so in real life, that person that runs around getting in fights all the time, eventually he's going to run into somebody better than him, right? Well, the Age of Decadence is definitely that game where there are just fights that are not winnable, and the game will teach you that the hard way, that you should have been more tactful. And you're not a badass here. You're not some, Sith/Jedi badass who can pirouette your way through 100 foes and leave a big pile of bodies and blood. And so let's go ahead and get started. It's going to take a while for us to create our character. I don't know how much gameplay we're actually going to have today, but this is the warning right here. It's telling you that this is a very different game than you expect. And it's true. If there's one thing I could consistently say about Age of Decadence is that everybody in this game is trying to use you. Everybody in this game is trying to trick you, steal from you, lie to you, all that kind of fun stuff. You get to choose your background, and the background kind of changes the way that you're going to go through the story in a lot of different ways. You have choices from the assassin, to the thief, to a praetor, to a lore master, to a grifter, to a drifter, to a mercenary, to a merchant. I've played the lore master so far, and I think I'm almost in like the third act. I'm on the back end of whatever the desert place is with the lore master. And then the mercenary, I've also gotten to the back end of the desert place. So I'm about 4.5, 5 hours in with both of these campaigns right here. And so far, they've both been satisfying in their own way. The lore master is essentially, he's kind of just a scholar. He's a learned man. And so you got to make your way through the game by proving that you know more stuff and being more clever than other people. The mercenary, you can take side skills, but in general, the mercenary is just there to fight. And so it's all about honoring contracts when you play with him. In general, you don't want to betray contracts, and that'll get you into trouble sometimes, but I found both to be pretty fun. The storyline is really thick in this game. There's a lot of dialogue. And so anyways, I've wanted to see what it was like to be an assassin. I haven't done the assassin yet, but the Assassin's Guild seems to be really prominent in everybody else's campaigns. And so I'm going to go in from right here. We start out with faction reputation. You would learn throughout the game, all these guys are actually, these aren't just like random reputations that go up and down. These are real things. Like, all of these guys have their own guild houses, and they will actually offer you solutions to your problems based on how much they like you. And also, if they dislike you, they may try to throw a stick in your spokes along the way, just kind of randomly to mess with you. So, we've got our face. We can do all kinds of random skin tones and things like that, whatever you would prefer in here. I don't really mind that much. There's not a ton of customization. There's a little bit more than what you would see in a game like, oh, I don't know, Dead State. I think this game is made with the same engine as Dead State as well. It feels very similar when you play it. Like, everything seems similar to Dead State. I'll probably just give him a beard, and that seems alright to me, and then, I don't know, that seems alright. That works for me. He looks like a beardy assassin man, and so that makes me happy. I like his armor, though. He's got like combat boots on. So the setting of this game is kind of odd. It's post-apocalyptic, so apparently after our world, the modern world has ended, everything has reverted back to Roman times, and so it's like the Roman world with all the different sort of, I guess, diplomatic problems and general political unrest, but they look for artifacts and things that are from our time that use like gasoline and stuff like that. Very interesting, weird little game. I don't really care about my charisma checks. Intelligence is nice because you get a lot more SP. But in general, since we're playing what I assume is a combat class, we're going to want to have high dexterity. We're going to want to have Constitution, yeah, sure. Perception is probably a pretty good one, too. That'll make it so that we can shoot a little bit better. And in fact, I would be sort of inclined to go with more perception because I think we're going to be throwing knives and using, just based on what I've seen from assassins so far in the game, they seem to stab people a lot, and they also seem to shoot bolts and poison things at people a lot, and so I think this should determine our action points. Wow, we got a lot of action points. That'll be pretty sweet. Although I prefer to take that down to being divisible. I would like it to be divisible by 4, just based on the way the combat works. Do I get that to 4 right there? You go with less HP, although that's a little bit more risky. I suppose I could take it off of here. Take the Constitution. We'll take a little bit of Charisma off. We're an assassin. We're not supposed to be likable. And so we'll take the action points. Down here, you've got combat skill points and civil skill points. The civil skill points, they aren't ones that are well-spoken. They're not better off, I guess, diplomatically than the other skills. They just tend to be things that are not combat-related. So these are things that you will use while walking around town. These are what you will use while you are in combat, because we don't have an amazing amount of, I'm probably not going to go, so what does this do? With impersonate, that's probably good for assassination. You really want to look through these, and you want to figure out which ones would actually, you know, add to your ability to kill folks. Alchemy would probably be pretty good. If you can make poison vials and stuff like that, it'd probably be pretty dope. Let's start with ways to sneak around, though, first. And so we'll start with, oh, I don't know. You probably want to tap these off. If you look at the bottom, it'll actually give you a rough. I actually like this a lot. You see when I mouse over this at the bottom, it'll say skill level novice. I like that. I like that a lot, and it reminds me of what they do in Shadowrun, where they tell you, you know, from skill points from 1 to 10, this is what it means contextually. If you have 5, it means you are average. If you're like 7, you're like a pro athlete. You know what I mean when it comes to strength. I like the way that they give you a contextual application for what your skill points mean. So we put 4 points in, you can stay still and be silent. That works out. I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of skills on the front end. I'll probably take lockpick as well, although we're not a thief. Might be a decent idea to throw something into alchemy so that we can make poisons and things of that nature. Next level, we get liquid fire, we get healing salves, we get antidotes and neurostimulants. So that sounds pretty good. When the mixture starts smoking, that's bad. Lesson learned. Not if you're Philip Morris. Let's see here. So we want to choose a weapon now that we can murder fools with. I have seen a lot of gnarly shit come out of bows, and so I may go for some bow skills right here. You're getting better, and with a bit of luck, you can hit moving targets. I do think we should probably go in on some kind of fight skill. These do have synergies with each other. However, it might be a good idea to get some kind of dodging skill, too, before we go too far into the game, before things get really, really, really nasty. Critical strike seems pretty dope, too. 9% chance to cause bleeding on a critical strike. Seems okay, but we need a weapon that we can actually fight with. Daggers don't have very good penetration, so I'm going to go with swords. I've seen a lot better swords in the game, too, as I've played along. Although, what does this have synergy with? This has synergy with crossbow and throwing. So if you look at the bottom right there, so if you take certain skill points, it'll make you better with the weapon you already have. So if you take swords, you get better with spears, you get better with hammers, you get better with daggers. Or I'm sorry, if you get better with swords, you'll get better with daggers very rapidly. You'll be really, really good with daggers because they're very similar. You get 1 for axe, 1 for hammer, and 1 for spear. Whereas if you take axe, and hammer, they kind of have bleed over. It's basically what weapons are similar to each other. So if you have to and you have to use them, you know, will it work out better for you? I'm going to accept those for where they're at right now. Probably still want to avoid combat as much as possible with the skills that we have, but we'll do all right. We don't have a whole lot of dodging skills, which makes me a little bit nervous. I may take maybe 2 out of there and put them into dodge instead. And so that might help out a little bit. I don't know. You want to have some kind of reflective skill in this game, although I guess we could go sword and board since we have the sword already. I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah. The world and an empire that once ruled it lie in ruins. Noble houses that lorded over provinces and commanded vast armies have been reduced to broken city-states. The Imperial Guard, remnants of the Imperial Army, act as a deterrent to open warfare. The knowledge of the old days has all but been forgotten. Hucksters peddle ancient wares of no value to the ignorant, and the lords seek and hoard artifacts they barely understand. A fanatical mysticism is slowly gaining favor, and long-held resentments are rising to the surface. Some speculate that another war approaches, and others actively encourage it. Times like these bring nothing but suffering for the common man. However, they offer a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to those determined to seize the moment and follow it to riches, power, glory, and often an untimely death. Your adventure starts in Terron, a small crumbling town not far from the main tracks of travelers and caravans. It's been dying for the last 100 years or so, kept alive only by the combined efforts of its inhabitants. Broken stonework has been replaced by makeshift wooden construction, creating the impression that a new town is slowly emerging from the ruins of the old one. Much like Terran, the noble house controlling the town has seen better days. Before the war that toppled the empire and the devastation that ensued, House Daratan was one of the most powerful houses, but that was then and times have changed. Today, it barely has enough strength to maintain its hold over the local guilds. Alright, you make a living working for Nilios, the guildmaster of the Boatmen of Styx. Never squeamish when it comes to sticking your blade in somebody's back, you decided to put your unique talents to good use and joined the Boatmen a few months ago, eager for some serious work. The Boatman was a good outfit that went back a long way. In the olden days, the Emperor commanded his own guard. Apart from the regular duties of protecting the Emperor, they were trained as experts in infiltration and assassination. Many political and military enemies met their end in the dead of night, ensuring the long-standing stability of the Empire. After the fall, left without a master to serve, the guard disbanded into the chaos of the fallen Empire. Once outside, they found that even as the world lay in ruins, their peacekeeping services were in great demand. An assassin's order was established bearing the proud name of the regiment, the Boatmen of Styx. You enter the Boatmen of Styx Guild. The businesslike nature of the establishment is very clear. There are no guards anywhere in the room. Nilios, the guildmaster of Terran's assassins, always smiled. He smiled when he talked to people as if it was just a good joke, or as if he was told a good joke, and smiled when he had to kill, which in his mind was a joke life played on its victims. Since the dead are good at keeping secrets, few people thought of Nilios as an assassin, and the general consensus was that Nilios was strictly an administrator of the guild rather than somebody who killed for a living. Perfect timing, Gaius. I've got a contract on a merchant who arrived this morning. His name is Gracious, and he's staying at the inn. He should be dead before morning. The Commercium, the Merchant's Guild, has a special request. Before you kill Gracious, tell him that the Commercium wishes to remind him that he's still not welcome in this town. The job is worth 50 Imperials, 10 now, the rest upon completion. Any questions? Only 50? It's not the best contract, but considering that the merchant isn't guarded, it's a good deal. Come on, think of it as exercise. Alright, well, I'll be back for the balance in a couple of hours. Time for last-minute shopping. Well, actually, how much money do I have? Yeah, I should probably go shopping. They take you to the merchant right here. You should probably prepare for your mission. Down at the bottom of the screen, you got all the things that you have in every CRPG. You got your character screen that'll allow you to play around with points if you so desire. It's got your inventory menu that'll also tell you all your different ratings for defense and attack and all of that fun stuff. We've got leather armor that's looking pretty good on us right now. We can use a gladius if we wanted to, so I'll put that in my hand because I figured it'd be useful for later. I don't think I need to use either of those, so I'm going to take the dagger out just in case the game decides to get a little bit... just in case the game decides to pull that out. We got a net, though, so I'll take that with me, although our throwing skill is not so amazing. It'll work out, though, I think. I'm going to actually put that back over here. Go ahead and put our hood on as well because it looks like it gives us damage resistance. So that'll be alright. We can also use this poison. Does it go in our belt bag? Okay, it does. So I'd like to use the poison at some point too. A natural poison good for coating your weapons and other nefarious purposes. After 3 successful strikes, the poison will be washed away by blood. Its effect lasts 3 turns starting with the next turn. So what does it do? It deals 3 extra damage. Okay, so that'll work out. It'll help a little bit. We got ropes. What are the ropes for? I assume that I use them for maybe grappling. Let's talk to the merchant real fast and we'll prepare for our assassination. We've got all kinds of things in here. We've got a scimitar. We've got barbed missiles. We've got a cape. I could definitely use a cape. Hell yeah, take a cape. Everybody needs a cape. Who doesn't need a cape? It's like one of the best things you could possibly have. Everybody wants a cape. On this side, we should probably take a bow because we're pretty good with it. I mean, we're not that good, actually. If there was anything a little bit stronger, I would take that. A crossbow might not have been the worst idea either. We have bolas on that side. We have wine amphoras. I actually think everything he's got in here is basically what we have already. So, in this case, let's go ahead and step on out and we'll see if we can get ourselves into trouble. It's going to be dark soon. You should head to the inn. Alright, well, let's go. Using numerous holes and rough patches as footholds, you easily climb the crumbling wall of the inn and reach the window and slip into the room. The merchant is awake, talking to his bodyguard and pointing at a chest. The bodyguard doesn't look like a fighting man, most likely one of the local brawlers who sell the guests a false sense of security for a few Imperials. Sensing your presence, the merchant turns around. He looks at the aimed crossbow at the dull metal of the loaded bolt and opens his mouth to say something, to object or to bargain for his life. Still, fear takes over and he continues to stare at the bow, like a rabbit mesmerized by a snake. The bodyguard finally wakes up and starts reaching for his sword. Zip! You tell Gracious that he isn't welcome in this town and pull the trigger. The bolt hits Gracious in the chest, the force of impact throwing him on the floor. The bodyguard looks at you, then at the dead body of his master, and he's still trying to decide what to do. Judging by his scars, the bodyguard has been through a lot, and yet managed to come out on top. He may look dumb, but he can clearly pack a punch and shouldn't be underestimated. So we can go with critical strike and dexterity check to throw him the crossbow. Our critical strike is kind of shitty though, so I don't know if that's going to work out so great. We can reload the crossbow while he's mustering up his courage. Or we can try and persuade him, but we don't have any persuasive skills either. Let's go for dexterity since that's what we have points in. Catch! You throw the guard your crossbow. As his attention switches to it, grab a bolt, holding it as a short dagger and lunge at the guard, aiming for the throat. Failure. The guard swiftly moves to the side and hits you with the pommel of his sword. He smiles unpleasantly, showing rotten teeth and charges. Shit. Oh, and he started out at point blank range too. Where are my weapons at? I clearly put these inside of here for a reason. Oh, man. Well, that's going to eat up some AP. Got a pretty good chance to hit him, though. I mean, oh, never mind. It only ate up 2. I can entangle him in the net. I don't think I need to, though. We got such a good chance to stab him that I think we just go for it. Hopefully he's not as good as... I hope he's not as good at stabbing as we are. Because if he is, this is going to suck for us. You can die in this game pretty easily, so... just letting you know. Let's go ahead and end our turn. We took 4 damage, but our armor absorbed 3, 2... Looks like we're basically trading right now. And I think he's going to win. We got to up the ante. We got to go for a regular attack here. Start dealing some real damage and hope that we don't miss. We got 3 right there. Oh, he dodged. Shit. 5 points right there, and his armor's been dented. Hopefully we can stay out of the way. Hey, a good turn for us. Not bad. Keep stabbing. Shiv him over and over and over again. Make him die. Make him feel the pain of our blade. So our dodge skills are coming through in spades right well, sort of. Oh, man, you dented my armor? It's not cool, man. This is all I have in my life. My mama gave me this armor. And now you're dead. Do you feel like a jackass now? Because you should. You could have walked away and lived, homie. You already got paid. I already got paid. You just made a dumb decision. Alright, let's break this thing off. You offer yet another sacrifice to death who smiles upon you and rewards your dedication by whispering insights in your ear. You gain a combat skill point. Alright, well the guard's got some gear, including my crossbow. Some of this stuff will sell, so I'll take it all. Merchant's probably got something over here. He's got 25 coins. He's got himself an expensive turban, and he's got expensive robes. Let's take those. I don't know if I'm going out the window or what's going on here. You take everything valuable from the chest. Was there anything valuable inside the chest? Looks like there was metal. Some cash. A fat stack of cash. Well, I don't have a cloak. There we go. Look at that. I look so much more awesome. If I had had the cape, I probably wouldn't have got stabbed so many times. Life would have been so much better. Looks like you just had a bunch of money in there. Is there anything else I can search around here? I don't think I can search anything else. So do I go out the window or like how do we do this? So assuming that I leave. Oh, I could just leave the inn? Yeah, let's leave. You're about to leave when you notice that the trader is clutching some parchment in his hand as if he had hoped that it would shield him from harm. It looks like an old map. It might fetch you a couple of Imperials. When you take it, you notice a small gray sphere lying on the floor nearby. You pick it up and carefully examine it. It's an unusual metal sphere with several grooves running around it. Perhaps a lore master might be of service. And so this is where the lore master's quest, all these characters. So that mercenary right there, that's the mercenary from the beginning of the game. Like if you start as the mercenary, you're on the opposite side of this exchange. If you start as the lore master, you're the lore master that this guy brings like the sphere to. It's very, very interesting how this whole thing plays out. Essentially, it all ends up exactly how you'd expect it to. We got a perception success right there, so that's pretty cool. We'll go ahead and walk out real fast. And so how is good old Gracious? Enjoying the afterlife. My money. Here you go. You gain a new insight, which can be used to increase your skills. 11 skill points gained. Thanks. Any idea what this map might be? You show the map to Nelios. It looks old. Talk to Fang, the lore master. He should know. Got time for a couple of questions? What do you want to know? I'm surprised we're able to operate so openly. Was there ever a time when we didn't? Name me a place where you can't find a man ready to take care of your problems for a couple of coins, and in this day and age, everybody's got problems. If we weren't around, some other poor bastard would have to go to some shady place at the risk of being robbed or killed, mind you, and deal with the kind of people we'd never hire. Do you think that if we close our doors tomorrow, the killing will stop? There are other ways to solve problems. Tell that to our clients. If a man comes to us with murder in his heart, do you think that he wants to listen to alternative suggestions? He wants me to tell him that he's made the right decision, that an end to his problems is in sight. Alright, let's go talk to Fang. You see a signpost that says, "Don't sell priceless artifacts for nothing. Come and see Fang first." Maybe you should pay Fang a visit about that map. We're a little bit wounded right now. I think we can do alchemy from in here somewhere. Do I have any alchemy stuff? I do not. But if we can make ourselves a healing potion, I definitely wouldn't be adverse to that. Let's apply our skill points. I think critical strike is probably going to be important. The earlier combat, so sometimes you're just going to put your points into the wrong stuff in this game, and it's going to suck. That being said, you can still learn on the way, which is what I did when I played the Lore Master. I put things into lore. Like, for example, I think I put all my points into lore in the beginning, and then as I failed skill checks in the beginning of the game, kind of the low-stakes skill checks, I realized all the other things that were going to supplement my lore, and so I ended up putting like 6 points in persuasion, like 7 points in trading. I ended up putting a whole bunch in lore, a bunch in etiquette, and then from there, I actually cakewalked through the rest of the game. However, you will occasionally have to make other checks, and when you don't have the points, it will kind of suck. Still, I wasted points putting things into dagger and stuff like that when I didn't need to. I made it through by just sort of feeling out the job and knowing what I needed as I played through, so keep that in mind as you play. That first one went for critical strike, and so I think a couple in critical strike might not be the worst plan. And then from there, we'll probably try and slot in a couple. I mean, what do I get for... What if I go into alchemy for one more? I get strong healing salve. So I'll probably just go for critical strike for right now. I'd like people to bleed heavily when I make contact with them. And then these also offer you unique opportunities to instantly one-shot people at the outset of combat, so that you can actually, with critical strike, you can do some badass stuff. I've seen critical strike rolls that allow you to like stab 2 dudes in the throat instantaneously at the beginning of a fight, and then fight the last remaining guy, so that ostensibly, or I guess... Well, I don't know if that's the word that I want, but anyways, so that you end up fighting 1 guy instead of 3, and for somebody that's trying to be an assassin, that's usually a pretty good call. Let's step on in here and see what we have to go. Fang came to Terron with a caravan 2 decades ago. Nobody knew where he came from or why, but he had the bitterness of a man soured by the memory of the life he lost. He was well versed in languages and antiquities, but the town already had a lore master. Fortunately for Fang, this lore master soon fell sick and passed away despite the best efforts of the local alchemist, who was quite puzzled by his symptoms. Shortly thereafter, Fang became the new lore master and even earned the favor of Lord Antitus after discovering a number of Darotan relics. "What is it?" Fang asks with irritation, acknowledging your presence and putting down some mechanism he's studying. "Can you appraise this for me?" You show him the trader's map. "A wise choice. Many people sell valuable items without realizing their true value. Let me see. This, I can't believe it. It can't be." He puts down the map, looking shocked. "This, my friend, is an extremely valuable artifact. I'll be honored to research it for you, but it will cost you 50 Imperials. It's funny. In the Lore Master mission, he tells you that anytime somebody brings you any worthless piece of junk, you should say, "Let me see. This, I can't believe it. It can't be." And so that's how you get your first lore points. It's the fabled map of Thor Agoth that shows the way to the Magi's artifacts that were buried when the war ended to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. I've heard about this map, but never thought that one day I'd be holding it in my own. He pulls out a magnifying glass. Something is written at the bottom in glyph language. "The Eye of Thor Agoth will show you the way," he reads slowly. "The Eye of Thor Agoth," he whispers, looking at you with widened eyes. He gets to one of his chests and starts digging through its contents until he finds what he's looking for. A large, round, tricolor crystal framed in gold. The center of the crystal is completely black, giving it the appearance of an eye. "I found it a long time ago in the ruins to the west of here, shining softly and warm to the touch. That's how the gem will guide you. It'll glow brighter and brighter the closer you get. Now, I'm too old to go with you, but I'll let you borrow the eye for 100 Imperials. I know that I can trust you to bring it back when you find the treasure of the Magi. Oh, look, we got more skill points. Guess I'll pay him. I don't know. I don't have the money? The map is worthless without the eye. Without it, you'll never find the temple, and if you don't believe me, ask Lord Antitus. Look, if you need the money, I'm sure we could work something out. I have a small problem. More of an inconvenience, really. Lord Antitus invited another lore master to Terran. Needless to say, I don't share his opinion that 2 heads are better than 1. If you were to somehow make this new lore master disappear, I'd be very grateful. His name is Cassius. He's probably at the inn already, so don't waste any time. How grateful are we talking about? 50 Imperials. The guild will charge you at least 100. I'll take 75. Fine, 75. Just get it done. Don't worry about it. And you leave. So from here, I'd like to give you my impressions of the game as we've played so far. This introduction I know was a little bit light. The turn-based combat is going to be the standard thing that you expect from any game. It's made with the exact same engine, I think, as Dead State. And so if you know the combat from there, you know the combat from here. Although the combat in this game is a little bit more fulfilling. There's a lot more attacks. Every single weapon has like 10 different attacks it can do for different AP amounts, and they all do different things. In general, you're not going to be fighting much, though. So anyways, let's get to the impressions, shall we? I think that Age of Decadence is the sort of game for people that enjoyed Unrest. If you took Unrest and mixed it with a healthy application of your standard fare RPG trappings, you would end up with Age of Decadence. The tinsel on the game is not super shiny, and by that I mean to say it's not much of a looker. The graphics are not something to really just poke your chin out about and be like, damn! Still, the content is solid, and I enjoyed my time with it. The storyline is expansive, it's repeatable from different angles and different class directions, and the majority of the quests have no fewer than 3 to 4 solutions, each of which will contain a handful of class-specific breaks and skill checks and different ways you can solve from there. There are the occasional curveballs, and I've hit a couple of skill checks every now and again that made me itch my head, but if I banged my head against it long enough, I almost unanimously found another way through the problem without having to do the thing that was outside my class. The player is free to change the world in any way they see fit, and I actually like that about the game. Different characters will offer you deals, and depending on the way that you take those deals, the world will turn out differently and your allegiances will turn out differently, and the consequences of your actions do have an effect on the game world as a whole. Some people will see Age of Decadence as overly punishing, and I agree with that in my first few hours. However, as I spent more time with the game, I realized the real trick that Age of Decadence is pulling here is that you have to roleplay it, something that other RPGs nowadays have completely and totally thrown to the wind. You cannot be a diplomat, duelist, rogue, jack-of-all-trades, whirlwinding your way through enemies, killing everyone while you negotiate treaties with all the most powerful people in the land. You simply do not have enough points to do that, and so your best bet with most of the character types in the game is just to build towards your archetype and try to solve the problems in the way that you're best equipped to. Lore masters should use their knowledge and their etiquette. When it comes to assassins, they should use their ability to strike cleanly and quickly and get the hell out of the way. When it comes to the warrior, you should probably try and make a lot of friends who know how to fight along with you. And if it seems like a quest in this game is favoring warriors, or if it's favoring a scholar and you're a rogue, what I've learned along the way is chances are that you just haven't done enough legwork, and I can almost assuredly say that there's a rogue solution for a warrior quest somewhere. You just kind of have to dig it out and figure it out for yourself. There's not a lot of wikis or anything to work it out, so you're definitely going to be a little bit alone on the internet with this one. I've had to bang through it in a way that I've never had to before, and in fact, there's no game facts or anything like that to help me out with it. So when I got stuck, I legitimately got stuck in this game. There's going to be a lot of conversation. It fills the majority of your game time here, and even the combat classes will find it useful to avoid conflict, as every brandishing of a weapon, as in real life, is a deadly situation that can end poorly for you in Age of Decadence. Whipping out that sword, you're signing a contract, and so you may want to avoid it. Going 3-on-1, super bad plan in this game as it is in real life, so you want to pick your battles carefully and do your best to extend your life around that strategy. If you try to act like a badass, eventually somebody else is going to be badder than you. Pretty soon, actually. The first chapter of the game is mostly just to teach you that you cannot headbutt your way through most of your problems. I had crashing problems with the game on the technical side, so I figured I'd make people aware. It crashed on my rig maybe once per hour, usually on screen swaps or loading screens. It's the exact same problem that I have with Dead State, the exact same error message and everything, so I assume it's an engine issue. Still, I figured I would appraise possible players that you may have crashing issues while you play if you had previous problems with games like Dead State that are on the same engine. All in all, I found Age of Decadence to be the CRPG for people who prefer slow, contemplative, and conversational RPGs that are thick with lore and storyline, and they like options. You can solve every quest a ridiculous amount of ways. There will be combat, but by no means is the game even remotely combat-centered. It's much like a choose-your-own-adventure novel with skill sheets and combat systems worked in. It's a game for specific players, and I don't think a game should be penalized for having a narrow target audience, and I have no problem saying that I actually really enjoyed my time with the game. If you want to get Age of Decadence, you should check it out on Steam. As of right now, you can get it for $26 99, and I can tell you that I think I have about 9 hours on record with the game. I've made it over halfway through 2 of the campaigns, and there's like, what, 8 of them? So you can bang out a lot of hours on this game. Obviously, some areas are going to be similar. Every single class shares like certain things along the way, but every single class has their own fun way to get rid of certain quests and obstacles too, and so you will see new stuff along the way. My name is Splattercat. This is Weekly Indie Newcomer, the series where you and I hang out for a little bit and talk about a game that I've been playing a lot over the course of the last week. Age of Decadence is up on stage today. Check it out down below if you wanted to get it. If not, I will see you all next week with another review coming hot and fresh for you from the indie scene. Hi to everybody.